Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful. Today, Liam is persuaded to undergo experimental surgery by Bill and Grace. Hope and Steffi were ecstatic when Liam woke up, and Bill was taken aback when Hope blurted out that Liam had a tumor. Bill is in the hospital room with Liam while Grace examines him. Liam makes a joke about his dad needing some change. His family hasn't left his chair in days, he believes. According to Grace, he is really fortunate and his wound is mending nicely. He has many reasons to live. Bill sits with his son and expresses his gratitude for keeping him around. He regrets what happened to Luna and is proud of him for saving Steffi. They may now forget about Luna, according to his son. Bill wishes he could have helped by telling him about his disease. Liam didn't want him to be in mourning during their time together. According to Liam, a brain tumor cannot kill him if Luna cannot. He is adamant about fighting. Grace invites Bill to speak with her. He asks if there is any genuine chance for his son as they enter an examination room. There is, she says. The outcomes of Grace's experimental procedure research have been encouraging. He reminds her of his wealth. According to her, the hospital cannot approve of it or be aware of it. However, it might be their only opportunity. The cost will be high. She accepts a blank check from Bill. According to the doctor, Liam still needs to be persuaded. She acknowledges the danger of what she is proposing, but they must move quickly to prevent Liam's death from the tumor. Bill believes he can communicate with him. Bill goes back to his kid right away and assures him that there is a possibility that he will recover. They would need to take immediate action because it is dangerous. When Grace joins them, Liam inquires as to whether he has any chance of surviving. She acknowledges that his tumor is incurable by today's standards, but her colleague has devised an experimental method. She can set up the procedure for tomorrow. She has already called him. It would take years to get it approved, so they can't have it there. Liam agrees and wants to live for his kids. She says she believes in this process while giving him documentation. Bill claims that he cannot let his kid go. It is impossible for Beth and Kelly to lose their dad. He is certain that he is the most courageous person. Tomorrow, Liam adds, taking his father's hand and signing the documents. The first day of your lifetime. Bill cheers. Liam's hospital room hung heavy, not just with the scent of disinfectant, but with the unspoken terror of a ticking clock. Bill Spencer, a titan accustomed to bending the world to his will, sat dwarfed by the vulnerability etched on his son's face. Hours ago, Hope's frantic revelation, Liam has a tumor, had landed like a physical blow, shattering the fragile relief they'd felt when Liam awoke after saving Steffi. Now, watching Grace efficiently check Liam's vitals, Bill grappled with a helplessness more profound than any boardroom defeat. Liam, ever attempting levity even in the shadow of mortality, joked about his father needing a change of clothes, a testament to Bill's unwavering vigil. Grace's professional pronouncement that his external wound was healing well, that he was very lucky, felt like a cruel understatement. Lucky? With an inoperable time bomb nestled in his brain? Yet, her final words resonated, he has a lot to live for, echoing the desperate plea in Bill's own heart. As Grace departed, Bill moved closer, the leather chair groaning under his weight, a sound swallowed by the room's oppressive silence. He reached for Liam's hand, the gesture uncharacteristically tender. Son, Bill began, his voice thick with an emotion he rarely displayed, losing you, the thought. He trailed off, unable to voice the abyss that had opened before him. He pivoted, expressing fierce pride in Liam's heroism saving Steffi, a pride quickly tainted by the bitter aftertaste of guilt. And this, because of Luna, he rasped, the name a curse. Liam, weary but resolute, brushed it aside. We can forget Luna now, Dad. The unspoken weight hung between them, the weight of Liam's secret. I wish you'd told me, Bill implored, the raw pain evident. About the cancer. I could have been there. Liam's gaze met his father's, clear and startlingly accepting. Exactly. I didn't want our time filled with you mourning me while I was still here. Then, a spark of the old Liam, the fighter, flared. Look, if Luna couldn't finish me off, he declared with a weak but defiant grin, some lousy brain tumor doesn't stand a chance. It was bravado, but it was also bedrock determination. When Grace reappeared, requesting Bill, the look in her eyes held a gravity that froze the blood in his veins. In the stark, impersonal confines of a nearby exam room, away from Liam's fragile optimism, Bill confronted the abyss head-on. "Grace," he demanded, the Spencer command returning, masking sheer terror, "is there any real hope? Tell me straight." Grace, the consummate professional, met his gaze squarely. "There is, Bill," she stated, and those 3 words were a lifeline thrown into a storm. She outlined her clandestine research, an experimental procedure pioneered by a brilliant, slightly maverick colleague overseas. The results, she stressed, were preliminary but undeniably promising, offering a sliver of light where conventional medicine saw only darkness. Bill's response was instantaneous, born of limitless resources and boundless desperation. "Money is no object. Name it." But Grace shook her head, her expression turning grave. "It's not just money. It's not something this hospital can sanction. Or even know about. Bureaucracy, ethics committees, getting approval would take years Liam doesn't have." She paused, letting the implications sink in. Secrecy. Risk. Operating outside the system. It may be his only chance, Bill. Without hesitation, Bill pulled out his checkbook, pen poised. "A blank check." "Done. What else?" Grace's eyes softened slightly at his unwavering commitment, but the real hurdle remained. "We still need to convince Liam. It's incredibly risky. The window, it's closing fast. If we don't act immediately, the tumor." She didn't need to finish. Bill squared his shoulders, the patriarch ready for his most crucial battle. "Leave Liam to me." Bill strode back into Liam's room, not as a hesitant father, but as a man armed with a weapon rarer than money, tangible hope. He sat beside his son, his presence radiating a newfound intensity. "Liam," he said, leaning forward, his voice low and urgent, cutting through the room's quiet dread. "Listen to me. There might be a way. A real chance." He saw the flicker in Liam's eyes, not disbelief, but a desperate yearning. Bill laid it bare. "It's risky. Experimental. And Grace says, we have to decide now. No time to wait, no time for second thoughts." Before Liam could fully process, Grace entered, confirming Bill's words with her steady presence. Liam's gaze locked onto her, the question burning, "A chance? You mean, a chance I could actually live?" Grace didn't flinch from the brutal truth. "By every established medical protocol here, Liam, your tumor is inoperable. The prognosis." She paused, then delivered the alternative with conviction. "But my colleague, he's developed something new. Radical. The data shows potential where nothing else does." She revealed the logistical reality. "I've already spoken to him. He can do it. Tomorrow." The location was unspoken but understood, somewhere far from the hospital's oversight. Here, getting approval, it would be too late. Silence descended, thick and charged. Liam looked from Grace's earnest, hopeful face to his father's, etched with a fear deeper than any Liam had ever seen, yet underpinned by a ferocious belief. He saw the faces of Kelly and Beth, their futures hanging in the balance. The weight of fatherhood, the primal drive to survive, collided with the terrifying unknown of the procedure. Bill saw the struggle and leaned in, his voice cracking with raw emotion. "Son, I cannot lose you. I won't survive it. Kelly. Beth, they need their father. They deserve a lifetime with you." He placed a hand on Liam's arm, the touch grounding. "And I know, deep in my soul, there isn't a braver man on this earth than you. You faced down Luna. You face this every damn day with a joke. You fight. This is the fight that matters most." The words weren't just encouragement, they were an invocation of Liam's own identity, his core strength. Grace offered the consent forms, her gaze unwavering. "I believe in this, Liam. Truly. It's a chance worth taking. The room held its breath. Liam looked down at the papers, symbols of a terrifying leap into the void, then back at his father's hand resting on his arm. He saw not just fear, but unwavering faith. In one fluid motion, Liam reached out, clasped Bill's hand tightly, a lifeline connecting generations. With his other hand, he took the pen Grace offered, scrawled his signature across the line, the ink a dark promise against the sterile white. He looked up, meeting Grace's eyes, then Bill's, a steely resolve settling over his features, replacing the fear. Tomorrow, he stated, the single word carrying the weight of a vow, a commitment to the future. A choked sound escaped Bill, a mixture of profound relief and the dawning terror of the gamble they were taking. He squeezed Liam's hand back, a fierce, protective grip. Tears welled in his eyes, not of sorrow, but of a hope so sharp it hurt. A grin, wide and tremulous, broke across his face. Tomorrow, Bill echoed, his voice thick but strong, infused with a desperate, defiant optimism. Son, that, he declared, the words ringing with a conviction meant to banish doubt, is the first day of the rest of your life. It was a cheer for the future, a declaration of war against fate, born in a sterile hospital room where a father's love, a doctor's daring hope, and a son's indomitable will to survive converged on a single, terrifying, yet luminous word, tomorrow. The battle lines were drawn, not just against a tumor, but against despair itself, and the stakes were nothing less than Liam Spencer's life. Liam's false diagnosis is discovered by Bill's specialist, who also reveals Grace's scam. Bill Spencer will assume leadership and appoint experts to handle Liam Spencer's care. He doesn't believe that Bridget Forrester and Lee Finnegan will be able to treat his son's incurable brain tumor. At the moment, Liam's health is really bad. In addition to fighting a brain tumor, he was shot in the chest to keep Steffi Forrester safe. Although his condition is far from stable, his doctors are hopeful that he will fully recover. According to BMB teasers, Bill will choose to fire his physicians and replace Liam's care with renowned specialists. It won't be long before the experts take over and determine that Liam's brain tumor is a scam. Liam's false diagnosis found by Bill's specialist. According to teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Bill's experts will put Liam through their own tests. They want further scans to see if his condition has improved, but they also appreciate the effort his physicians have put into his treatment. In particular, they want to know if his brain tumor has gotten bigger. When they don't find a lump in his brain, the physicians will probably be perplexed. Since there is no sign of a brain tumor, they are baffled as to why his headaches and other symptoms are getting worse. They conclude that Grace Buckingham misdiagnosed Liam after conducting a number of tests. They also find that his pounding headaches, exhaustion, and dizzy spells may be caused by the drug Grace gave. Bill reveals Grace Buckingham's fraud. According to teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Bill loses control of his anger after discovering Grace's incapacity. She had previously trusted her instincts, but it goes too far to tell Liam he was dying when he wasn't. Bill gets fixated on determining if Grace intentionally caused his son's illness or if she simply misdiagnosed him. He could get his guys to investigate Grace to see if she has a motive. According to BMB teasers, Bill's investigator finds that Grace's behavior is connected to her ex-husband, Reese Buckingham. That scammer is somehow pressuring Grace to use the poisonous drug combination to make his son ill. According to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, Bill is determined to preserve his kid and will take matters into his own hands. See how it unfolds by continuing to watch. Liam Spencer's hospital bed, a grim counterpoint to the frantic beeping of monitors charting his precarious hold on life. He was a man besieged, a bullet lodged perilously close to his heart, a testament to his desperate love for Steffi Forrester, and the supposed specter of an inoperable brain tumor casting an even longer, darker shadow over his future. While his physical recovery from the gunshot wound was agonizingly slow but cautiously hopeful, the neurological doom pronounced by Dr. Grace Buckingham hung like a shroud, manifesting in debilitating headaches, crippling fatigue, and disorienting dizzy spells that seemed only to worsen despite the aggressive, experimental cocktail of medications Grace prescribed. To the concerned eyes of Lee Finnegan and Bridget Forrester, diligently overseeing his care, it was the tragic, inevitable progression of a cruel disease. But to Bill Spencer, Liam's fiercely protective, perpetually distrustful father, the entire narrative felt off-kilter, a discordant note in a symphony of suffering. He watched his son, pale and weakened, not just by a bullet but by a relentless pharmaceutical assault masquerading as treatment, and a cold fury began to crystallize into unwavering resolve. Bill didn't just doubt Lee and Bridget's ability to find a miracle cure, he fundamentally distrusted their judgment in accepting Grace Buckingham's catastrophic diagnosis at face value. The Spencer patriarch, a man who built empires on control and dismantled threats with ruthless precision, decided the time for passive worry was over. He would seize command of Liam's fate. With the swift, decisive action born of immense wealth and even greater desperation, Bill Spencer bypassed hospital protocols, familial opinions, and medical egos. He summoned not just one, but a team of the world's most renowned neurological specialists, names whispered with reverence in elite medical circles, individuals whose expertise transcended borders and whose fees reflected their near-mythical status. Their arrival was less a consultation and more a hostile takeover of Liam's care. Bill presented it as an act of paternal devotion, leveraging his resources for the absolute best chance, but the underlying message to Lee and Bridget was unmistakable: you failed. Step aside. The existing doctors, bound by ethics and a genuine concern for their patient, reluctantly provided access to Liam's voluminous medical records, scans, and treatment history, hoping this unprecedented intervention might yield a sliver of hope they had missed. Bill's specialists, impeccably professional but radiating an aura of detached authority, absorbed the data with clinical efficiency. They acknowledged the complexity of Liam's case, the interplay of traumatic injury and a supposedly terminal neurological condition, but expressed immediate, pointed skepticism about the baseline diagnosis. "We appreciate the groundwork," the lead specialist stated, his tone devoid of warmth but heavy with implication, "but given the gravity and the evolving symptom profile, we require entirely new imaging. Current scans are essential. We need to see the tumor status now." The atmosphere crackled with tension as Liam was wheeled back into the sterile embrace of the MRI suite for the umpteenth time, though now under the watchful eyes of Bill's imported experts. Hours later, gathered in a hushed conference room illuminated by the cold glow of lightboxes displaying the fresh scans, the world-renowned specialists exchanged glances that spoke volumes before uttering a word. Confusion etched deep lines on their faces. They leaned in, scrutinizing the intricate landscapes of Liam's brain from every conceivable angle, cross-referencing the new images obsessively with Grace Buckingham's original, damning scans. The silence stretched, thick and heavy. Finally, the lead specialist turned to Bill, his expression a mixture of profound bewilderment and dawning realization. "Mr. Spencer," he began, his voice carefully measured, "these scans, they are unequivocal. We see the bullet wound's proximity to vital structures, we see the expected inflammation and healing processes related to that trauma. But we see no mass. No tumor. Nothing remotely resembling the significant, inoperable glioblastoma described in Dr. Buckingham's initial report." He gestured towards the light box, his finger tracing the clear, healthy brain tissue visible in the new images. "It simply isn't there. Not now." And critically, he paused, pulling up Grace's original scans on a digital display beside the new ones. "These earlier images, the anomaly she identified as a tumor, they bear hallmarks of manipulation. Subtle, sophisticated, but discernible to a trained eye looking for inconsistencies. They appear fabricated." The revelation hit the room like a physical blow. Bill staggered back a step, his face draining of color before flooding with a terrifying, incandescent rage. "No tumor." The words echoed, shattering the foundation of months of anguish. But the specialists weren't finished. Their investigation pivoted with laser focus. If the tumor was a phantom, what was causing Liam's horrific symptoms? They descended upon Grace Buckingham's prescribed medication regimen with forensic intensity. Pharmacologists and toxicologists dissected the complex cocktail, analyzing interactions and potential side effects. The findings were swift and damning. "Mr. Spencer," another specialist reported, her voice tight with clinical anger, "the combination of drugs Dr. Buckingham prescribed, particularly this experimental neuroinhibitor and the high-dose synthetic corticosteroids, is not just inappropriate for a non-existent tumor, it's actively toxic. This regimen is causing Liam's symptoms. The headaches, the dizziness, the extreme fatigue, the cognitive fog, they are classic indicators of iatrogenic illness, of poisoning by the treatment itself. These drugs, in these doses and combinations, are inducing the very neurological distress attributed to the fabricated tumor. It's not a disease progression, it's a pharmacological assault. The carefully constructed walls of Bill Spencer's composure shattered. A guttural roar of pure, unadulterated fury erupted from him, echoing off the sterile walls. "Grace," he bellowed, "the name a curse." His hands clenched into white-knuckled fists, his entire body vibrating with the force of his wrath. The betrayal wasn't just medical incompetence, it was a sadistic, premeditated act of cruelty against his flesh and blood. The image of Liam, suffering needlessly, believing he was dying, subjected to torturous drugs for a lie, ignited a volcanic rage that consumed all rational thought. "She told my son he was dying. She pumped him full of poison," he spat, his voice trembling with the effort to contain the violence simmering beneath the surface. The initial shock of the misdiagnosis was instantly eclipsed by a far darker, more terrifying question: was it malice? Had Grace Buckingham, for reasons unfathomable, deliberately set out to destroy Liam Spencer? Bill's mind, honed in corporate warfare and personal vendettas, shifted into overdrive. This wasn't mere negligence, it felt calculated, sinister. "Find out everything," he commanded his head of security, his voice a dangerous rasp. "I want her life dissected. Bank records, phone logs, every connection, every motive. Did she do this alone? Who benefits from my son's suffering? I want to know if that woman purposely tried to kill him." Driven by paternal fury and a Spencer's relentless need for vengeance, Bill's investigators moved with unnerving speed, peeling back the layers of Grace Buckingham's seemingly respectable life. The trail, initially obscured by medical jargon and professional veneer, quickly grew hot and pointed towards a figure from Grace.